The wind whispered through the skeletal branches as I stood before the desolate Victorian mansion that loomed in the moonlight. An imposing spectacle of history and mystery, the mansion stood tall, its time-worn facade graced by the ghostly pallor of the moon. Its silhouette appeared like a specter itself, casting long, eerie shadows that danced and flickered across the barren landscape. The mansion, while seemingly abandoned, breathed a life of its own. Its walls, scarred by the passing of time, whispered tales of a bygone era, tales that hung heavy in the crisp, cold air. The mansion's windows, like vacant eyes, stared out into the darkness, reflecting the spectral glow of the moonlight. The mansion's grandeur, though faded, was undeniable. Its architecture, a relic of the Victorian era, hinted at a history rich with opulence and tragedy. Its intricate details, though worn, spoke of the hands that had crafted them, hands now lost to time. The mansion's surroundings echoed its desolation. The skeletal trees stood tall, their branches swaying gently in the wind, casting an ever-changing tapestry of shadows. The whispering wind carried with it a chill that crawled down my spine, a chilling reminder of the mansion's haunted reputation. As I approached the mansion, I could feel a tangible shift in the atmosphere. The air seemed to thicken, heavy with an inexplicable melancholy that clung to the mansion like a spectral shroud. It was as if the mansion was inviting me in, beckoning me to uncover its secrets, to listen to its stories. The mansion's grand entrance, once a symbol of its opulence, now stood as a threshold to its haunted past. As I stood before the imposing wooden doors, I could almost hear the echoes of laughter, cries of joy, and whispers of sorrow that once filled the mansion's halls. Intrigued by its haunted history, I decided to spend the night. With a sense of anticipation and a hint of fear, I stepped into the mansion, ready to unravel its spectral secrets. Little did I know, the mansion was just as ready to share its tales. Tales that had been waiting for an empathetic ear, tales that would forever change my perception of the spectral world. Upon entering, the air thickened with a palpable sense of melancholy. With each step further into the mansion, the atmosphere grew denser, like wading through a sea of sorrow. The outside world seemed to fade away, replaced by an eerie stillness that held the mansion in its grip. As I ventured deeper, a haunting melody drifted towards me. It was a mournful tune, filled with longing and despair, a spectral symphony that echoed through the mansion's hollow halls. Drawn in by the melancholic music, I found myself in a grand parlor. The room was dimly lit, but in the faint glow of the moonlight I could make out the source of the ghostly melody. A grand piano. Its keys moved with a life of their own, dancing under the command of an unseen maestro. The melody was so poignant, so laden with sorrow, it felt as if the piano itself was weeping. It sang a song of love lost, of dreams shattered, and of a life cut tragically short. Suddenly, a spectral figure materialized beside the piano. A woman, dressed in the attire of a bygone era, her face etched with a profound sadness. Her hands moved over the keys, her touch as delicate as a whisper. Her eyes, lost in the haunting melody, seemed to look beyond the confines of the room, into a past forever out of reach. She was the architect of the ghostly melody, her sorrow seeping into each note, painting a tragic tale of love and loss. For a moment I felt a cold touch on my shoulder, a spectral hand reaching out from the past. It sent shivers running through my body, a chilling reminder of the spectral presence that inhabited the mansion. The music stopped abruptly, leaving behind a deafening silence. The spectral woman turned her gaze towards me, her eyes filled with a longing that transcended time. Then, just as quickly as she had appeared, she vanished. The ghostly apparition, a mourning woman in Victorian attire, vanished into the ethereal mist. Her haunting melody, a testament to her tragic tale, lingered in the air, a ghostly echo in the silence of the mansion. As midnight approached, the mansion came alive with ethereal lights and phantom footsteps. The somber silence of the house was replaced by a spectral symphony, a haunting harmony that resonated from every corner. The once quiet mansion now buzzed with a peculiar energy, a spectral dance of the past unraveling before my eyes. In the heart of the mansion, the grand ballroom was bathed in an otherworldly glow. The chandeliers shimmered with phantom lights, casting long, dancing shadows that played hide-and-seek with the darkness. The once dusty floor was now a stage for a spectral spectacle, a midnight waltz that transcended the boundaries of time. A ghostly couple emerged from the swirling mist, their translucent forms gliding effortlessly across the floor. They moved in a timeless rhythm, their feet barely touching the ground, their faces lost in an eternal moment. The man, gallant in his spectral suit, led the dance with a grace that belied his ghostly form. The woman, ethereal in her flowing gown, followed his lead, her spectral eyes sparkling with a melancholic joy. Their dance was a hauntingly beautiful performance, a waltz that spoke volumes of a love that had outlived life itself. The ghostly couple danced in the moonlight, their spectral forms intertwining in a dance of lost love and eternal longing. Their movements were fluid, like the soft notes of a forgotten melody, their dance a testament to a love that had transcended the confines of mortality. The dance was intoxicating, mesmerizing. I found myself drawn to their spectral spectacle, the rhythm of their waltz resonating within me. A strange urge overcame me, a desire to join their dance, to partake in their eternal waltz. But as I moved towards them, the music faded, the lights dimmed, and the ghostly couple paused their dance. They beckoned me to join, and as I hesitated, the room fell silent. The spectral couple, their dance interrupted, stared at me with expectant eyes. Their ghostly forms shimmered in the dim light, their faces etched with a silent plea. And then, just as suddenly as they had appeared, they vanished, leaving behind a haunting echo of their midnight waltz. The room fell silent, the spectral symphony coming to a sudden end. The midnight waltz was over, but its haunting melody lingered in the silence, a poignant reminder of the love that once was. Upstairs, a child's laughter echoed through the nursery, a sound so innocent yet chilling in the silent, eerie hallways of the mansion. I ventured towards it, the laughter growing louder, a haunting lullaby of days long gone. As I entered the nursery, the air was heavy with the scent of faded memories. The room was filled with age-old toys, their colors dulled by time. A rocking chair creaked softly in rhythm with the ghostly giggles, its spectral sway as if guided by unseen hands. A flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the walls, painting 1,000 untold stories of a childhood lost too soon. In the corner, a spectral figure was playing, lost in its own world. It was a child, a phantom from an era past, dressed in faded Victorian clothes. His laughter, once filled with life, now echoed with an ethereal loneliness that tugged at my heart. The ghostly child, a forgotten soul, stared at me with vacant eyes before vanishing. In the master bedroom, a tormented figure paced, trapped in the echoes of a tragic decision. The dreadful silence was broken only by the sound of his spectral footsteps. Each step seemed to carry with it the weight of regret, the burden of a choice made in haste. A cold gust of wind swept through the room, carrying whispers of his anguished pleas. His voice, though faint, was filled with despair, a chilling testament to his eternal torment. I found myself drawn to him, this phantom of regret. His agony, though spectral, was all too human. His story, though silent, spoke volumes. His eyes, though vacant, revealed a tale of love lost, of a life unlived. I reached out, not with fear but with understanding. His spectral form shimmered briefly under my touch, a momentary connection between the living and the dead. I offered empathy, feeling the weight of his despair before he too dissolved into the shadows. In the attic, I uncovered a forgotten journal detailing the mansion's tragic past, a tale of forbidden love, betrayal, and untimely death. The yellowed pages held the mansion's secrets, each word echoing the spectral whispers that filled its halls. The journal's entries were the keys to the mansion's past, revealing the stories behind the ghostly apparitions. A once thriving family home, the mansion bore witness to a love that dared to defy societal norms, only to be shattered by a heartbreaking betrayal. The untimely deaths that followed left their marks on the mansion, binding the spirits to their former home. As I delved deeper into the journal, I felt an unsettling connection to the spectral figures. The mournful woman, the dancing couple, the ghostly child, and the tormented figure, each of their stories were etched in the mansion's history, their spectral forms a lingering testament to their tragedy. The more I read, the more the spirits seemed to embrace me, their stories seeking solace through my presence. With dawn's approach, the mansion's spectral symphony waned. As the first rays of light pierced the veil of night, the spectral figures that had danced in the moonlight and whispered their tales of sorrow began to fade. Each ghostly apparition, having shared its melancholic tale, retreated back into the shadows, their spectral forms dissolving into the ethereal mist that clung to the mansion. The once echoing halls fell silent, the grand piano ceased its ghostly melody, and the flickering candles that had illuminated my path through the mansion were extinguished. The mansion, once alive with the echoes of its haunted past, now stood silent in the breaking dawn, the weight of its history lingering in the crisp morning air. As I stepped out of the mansion, I felt a chill crawl down my spine, a lingering reminder of the spectral encounters of the night. Haunted by the ethereal encounters, I left the Victorian mansion behind. The wind whispered a final farewell, carrying with it the distant echoes of ghostly laughter.